My parents are totally crazy, both of them. They sent me to Catholic school in the 3rd grade. And I'm Jewish.
I have to gear up for my next guest because she comes on stage like a ball of fire, ready to have fun and make people laugh. She's appeared on Fox, ABC, NBC, numerous TV specials. She's performed all over the country and even has her own company called Productively Funny, creating shows for corporate clients. Please welcome the hysterically funny, high energy, Tracy Locke. Tracy, I'm getting those vibes.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. It's great to see your face and hear your voice.
Same
Finally.
here. Well, we're both originally from the city of brotherly love.
Right.
You moved to, was it New York City to start your comedy career?
Yes, I did. So I'm originally from Warminster, and I have to give a shout out to Warminster because it's your home turf. Daddy Pops were right next to you.
Yes.
Right out of college, I moved to Colorado. And then what happened was I was working for a television station out there. I was a news reporter.
Oh.
But they put me, as you know, they put me man on the street. And
Yes.
so I was doing all the sad news stories of like, your house burned down, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And I couldn't handle it. So I
Right.
would joke around inside of the truck with the other, broadcasters, and they were like, "You're too funny to do news. What are you doing?" So here's the crazy part: I took a comedy class, and then I put a tape together, and I sent one tape to New York City, and I got called for a job. I was very excited about that, and I came back to New York area, and I worked for a company called the Outdoor Life Network, and I did on-air talent for them. And then while I was doing that, I started taking improv comedy in Manhattan.
Right.
And fell in love with it. And I made the choice to go, forget the news, I'm going to go straight comedy. And that's what I've done since then. And it's been such a fun journey. As you know, it's crazy fun and just crazy all the time.
Now, it seems like you made that transition because I think it's Jerry Seinfeld who came up with the term for those folks out there, which we all started out as, couch comedians. Those people who can make people laugh, at the dinner table or their family members. But, it's a different story when you're getting up and addressing complete strangers. But it seems like you made that transition pretty quickly. How did you do that?
So I started with improv and then got into stand-up, which is something I would totally advise anyone who's interested in stand-up. Improv is a totally different muscle,
Yes.
but it allows you to open yourself up so that when you get on the stage by yourself doing stand-up, you're a little more prepared. Because Grover, I don't know about you, but even though I did improv, there was nothing scarier than the first time I did stand-up comedy, standing out on that stage with no one else.
That's right. They always talk about how comedians come out, or folks who were, rejected. And so they get into a profession where rejection is the biggest threat.
Exactly. Then you don't feel so bad. You know what? The thing is, my theory is this, Grover. Growing up, I was always a jokester. And I
Right.
feel that with comedy, a lot of comedians started comedy because if they could get the joke out before you could about themselves, then
Right.
it negates everything. So you know what? If I can make fun of myself first, then you have nothing left to make fun of.
Exactly.
Right?
So you kind of come out gangbusters. You get right involved with the crowd almost immediately. That's what I saw you perform.
Yes, I love crowd interaction. So there's a funny story behind that as well. I got a great job through another local legend that I know you know, Dina Blizzard.
Yes.
We were doing a show together,
Yes.
and she came up to me after the show because I love to do crowd work, which means I get into the crowd and find out about the people and talk to them and invite them into the show. Dina came up to me and said, "Your crowd work is phenomenal. You should be a warm-up comedian." I said, "I don't even know what you're talking about." And she's like, "Oh, it's a job. It's a real job in New York City where you warm up the crowds before talk shows or any kind of show." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." Thinking like, what are the odds?
Right.
Grover, 2 weeks later, she called me and said, "Katie Couric is doing a daytime talk show. I can't do it, but I'll train you to do it. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yep." And that's how my career started as a warm-up.
Wow. And you talk about your life and your personality and the things you get involved with, like your dad.
My father is the greatest. So you'll appreciate this, Grover. My father is 80 years old and still teaches at Ben Salem High School.
Wow.
They want him to retire, but he won't leave. They can't get him out of there. And all the kids love him. because he can't hear anything. So they play jokes on him all day. They tell him the phone's ringing. He walks over. He stands there for 10 minutes. He can't hear.
Do you remember when we went to school and your mother actually made the birthday cake that you brought in? My mother made a rum cake. You guys. She used Bacardi 151, the whole bottle.
So I talk about family because everyone can relate to that. Everyone has a crazy family member.
Yes.
Comedy should be inclusive where I want you to come to a show and go, oh, yep, I know that person. I have
Right.
that person in my family. So I love to do that.
Is it true that you went to Catholic school?
I went to Catholic school in the 3rd grade. I went to St. John Bosco.
Yes.
And the crazy part about that is that I'm Jewish.
Wow.
But I begged my parents to go. And so I was the only Jewish kid in, an all Catholic school. There were 600 Catholics, but it turned out all right. They recognized my ability and they elected me class treasurer. So I'm very excited.
Weren't you involved in sports? Aren't you a real sports nerd?
Yes, which is breaking another crazy stereotype. I am the Jewish kid that loves sports and was great at all the kind of sports. In high school, I played field hockey, soccer, bowling, basketball, you name it, I did it. And when I was only 7 years old, I played for the Warminster Pioneers, and I went to sign up. And they said, the girls are over on that line. I was like, the cheerleading line's over here. I go, no. I'm here to sign up for football. They were like, girls don't play football. I was like, well, I do. So I signed up and I played in the 75-pound league, Grover. That is the last time I was ever 75 pounds. But I played in that league. And then as I got older, they started the WNFL. I don't know if you remember that. That was several years ago.
Kinda
but I
came
also
and went.
played in the WNFL.
You also have your own company, Productively Funny, which you have interactive classes or classes on how to be interactive.
So it's interactive. It's a company where we do interactive training. We do corporate training as well as teaching. And what we do is we take the tenets of improv, which is so important in all of life. So the number 1 rule of improv is have fun.
Yes.
And the number 2 rule of improv is yes and. So no matter what someone gives you, you never negate it. You say yes and you add to it.
Right.
And so we bring that energy into corporate training and we train people to allow themselves to be open and actively listen and say things out loud. So they're not afraid to work as a group. Teamwork is so important in any job that you do. And the only way to really build a solid team is if you trust each other and really, form tight bonds where you're not afraid to say what's on your mind.
Right.
My mantra is I want you to feel included and fun and laughed with, not laughed at.
Tracy, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks so much. And can't wait for you to go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I hope to see you around Hatboro. I'm just going to stalk Daddy Pops till you're back and then just come in and say hi.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Tracy Locke, a comic who takes you on a hilarious roller coaster ride from sports to dating adventures in one fell swoop.